U.S. President Donald Trump has claimed that India offered a trade deal proposing no tariffs for American goods.
It's very hard to sell into India, and they've offered us a deal where basically they're willing to literally charge us no tariff.
Trade deals may make headlines, but they don't tell the full story. Recently, former US President Donald Trump claimed that India proposed a deal with zero tariffs on American goods. But while leaders debate over policy, something far more urgent is happening on the ground, where farmers, markets, and entire food systems are reaching a breaking point. There was no warning, no rally cries or campaign speeches, just engines rumbling and tractors rolling out. Across India, farmers stormed highways surrounding capital cities in a sea of diesel fumes and frustration. But it wasn't just India. Across borders, time zones, and continents, the message was the same. Enough. Enough with broken promises. Enough with political spin and empty assurances. While governments promise relief, the cost of living rises and the soil beneath the global food system is starting to fracture. On this day, from Delhi to Paris, from supermarket aisles to slaughterhouse floors, the tension spilled out into public view. What we're witnessing isn't just a farm crisis. It's a collision of politics, disease, protest, and survival, and it's hitting the people who grow our food and those who buy it at the exact same time. In India, tens of thousands of farmers once again descended on the capital. Their message was loud and clear. They weren't asking for subsidies or short-term bailouts. They were demanding a legal guarantee, a minimum support price, MSP, for 23 staple crops: wheat, rice, lentils, mustard, and more. These are the crops that feed over 1.4 billion people, and for decades they've been sold at prices below the cost of production. Most of these farmers work tiny plots, sometimes no more than a hectare. They don't have high-tech tools or corporate sponsorships. They have one resource, their crop, and when market prices drop, their entire lives collapse. Loans go unpaid, equipment breaks, droughts wipe out harvests, and middlemen siphon off the little that's left. This isn't their first protest. It's the continuation of a long struggle, one filled with hunger strikes, roadblocks, and unmet promises. Now, with another election looming, farmers have returned, more determined than ever, demanding a legal floor price for their work. As one protester said, "We're not asking for wealth, we're asking for fairness. Without a guaranteed price, we cannot survive." Meanwhile, in France, a different storm is brewing. On May 26, French farmers plan to blockade highways around Paris, rallying behind a controversial new bill. The bill seeks to ease regulations on pesticide use and lift limits on larger farms, measures that many see as essential to staying competitive in a tightening economy. Small blockades have already begun in rural regions, but organizers say the main event is coming, a massive coordinated shutdown of the capital. Their message: the regulatory weight is too heavy, the support too little, and farmers are drowning in debt, exhaustion, and rising costs. This isn't just about farming, it's about power, about whether governments are still listening, whether agriculture remains a protected pillar of the economy or just another industry being rewritten by global policy. Across Europe, anger is reaching a boiling point. Farmers from Spain, Poland, Belgium, and the Netherlands are mobilizing once again, this time to march on Brussels, the heart of the European Union. Their concern: the future of the Common Agricultural Policy, a bedrock program that has supported rural life in Europe for decades. Now, as EU budget talks begin, that lifeline is under threat, and farmers are preparing to show up in force, with tractors, signs, and one question: are we going to have a real policy, or just more empty promises? But even as protests escalate, a new threat is rising, one that doesn't march or speak, but mutates. Bird flu has returned, and this time it's struck Brazil, the world's largest poultry exporter. A deadly, highly pathogenic outbreak was confirmed in a commercial chicken farm, the first of its kind in the country. The response was swift. China, Brazil's biggest buyer, immediately banned imports. Other countries are expected to follow. The damage? Brazil exported over $10 billion worth of poultry in 2024. That supply chain is now at risk, and the virus isn't stopping at birds. It's been detected in mammals, and in rare cases, even humans. Over 1,200 outbreaks have been logged this season alone. Hundreds of millions of birds culled. In the US, egg prices soared nearly 50% during the worst of it. Though prices have recently dropped, experts warn the next wave is already coming, and chicken, once the world's most reliable protein, is no longer a safe bet. Meanwhile, beef prices are hitting all-time highs. The average price for ground beef in the US has climbed to $5.80 per pound, the highest ever. Why? Shrinking herds, drought-stricken pastures, skyrocketing feed costs. One rancher in Texas reported feeder steer prices jumping from $1,500 to $2,400 in just a year. Another said simply, there's no grass, no rain. Every day it gets harder to keep the herd alive. America's cattle herd is now the smallest it's been in 70 years. Rebuilding will take years, and only if the weather cooperates. While meat prices rise, some relief is finally trickling in. In the US, grocery prices dipped slightly in April, the first decline in over 2 years. But that small relief won't fix the bigger problem. In Britain, food prices rose 2.6% year over year, the fastest rate in nearly a year. And new costs are on the horizon: packaging levies, energy hikes, regulatory surcharges. One supermarket executive summed it up: "We can only absorb so much. Eventually it hits the shelf." The Bank of England now predicts inflation could reach 3.5% by late 2025. For British families already strained by housing and energy costs, food has shifted from an inconvenience to a full-blown crisis. As prices rise, supply chains are fraying, not just from nature, but from labor unrest and cyber attacks. In Panama, nearly 5,000 banana workers were fired after a month-long strike turned into a multi-million-dollar standoff. The company, a US-owned distributor, claims the damage is irreversible. Workers demand pension protections. The government calls the strike illegal, but if the conflict continues, expect banana prices to surge across North America. In Europe, a ransomware attack hit one of the continent's largest refrigerated delivery firms, serving Tesco, Aldi, and Sainsbury's. Order systems froze, trucks stopped, food deliveries came to a standstill, shelves were spared, for now. But the message is clear: cyber threats are now part of the food supply equation. And in Ukraine, once the grain basket of Eastern Europe, exports are down again. War has made planting dangerous. Drought has made harvests unpredictable. And port blockades mean even harvested crops might never leave the country. This year's wheat harvest is expected to drop 23%, hitting its lowest in over a decade. Meanwhile, Russia, unrestricted and strategic, is flooding former Ukrainian markets, gaining buyers across Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia. The balance of trade is shifting, global power is realigning, and in India, a record rice harvest has brought temporary relief. The government lifted its export ban on broken rice, a cheap, vital food source for low-income regions in Africa and Southeast Asia. But even this good news is fragile. One bad harvest, one failed monsoon, and the whole system teeters again. This isn't a single crisis, it's the collision of many. Farmers are in the streets, fighting to be heard. Shoppers are in the aisles, fighting to afford the essentials. And the supply chains connecting them, they're hanging by a thread. Disease, drought, protests, policy. This isn't just a tough season, it's a reckoning. And the systems that have fed billions for decades are now being rewritten in real time.